And here we are again. So sorry, I just tried to move my leg and everything shakes. Hey, hi Boston. I should have done. I thought I had everything ready to go, and then I'm like, everything's falling and everything's moving. Just kind of want to give everybody a few minutes to see if anybody shows up. Coffee is good. So it's kind of an interesting case tonight. One that I love. I love this case. I listen to podcasts about it, watch streams about it. It's one of my favorites. I hear the kitty. She's down here getting pettins. So, I'm going to grab my notebook. I'm not really good at remembering dates. Most of the big ones in this case I remember, but when I'm talking, I might not. Let's see here. Where did I put it? Where's the notes? Might have to fly by the seat of my pants with this one too. This one I know a little bit better than some of the other ones. Yeah, it's not in there. That's what happens when you have more than one notebook floating around. I swear it was in here. Everybody can hear me turning the pages. Get a little ASMR paper turning going on. Oh, I think that was it. Where'd it go? Nope. Oh, there's all the notes that I needed from one of my last streams. That's crazy. Oh, well, I remember most of the dates. Maybe not the exact day, but at least the months. It's strange hearing all the background noise. I'm not used to being the one talking. All right, well, I don't know if that watch eyeball thing is accurate. Do you trust it? I wish I could shut that off so I can't see how many people are watching, because it gives me a complex. No, don't call and prank me. I don't know. If somebody prank called me while I was streaming, I'd probably laugh them off. I'd be like, I don't know. I'd give it back to him. I used to get prank calls at the nursing home from this guy, and I swear to God, this was 15 years ago, and I still remember his name. His name was Mason, and he would call me and ask me what kind of shoes and socks I'm wearing. He'd be like, "Oh, tell me about your feet." And it's the middle of the night, so I just mess with him. Like, I'd play along with it. Like, I painted my toenails orange and black for Halloween, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." And I'm like, "You're a dirty, nasty fucker." You know that? Oh, that guy. I give it back to him. That's right. Spooky. Sorry, if I'm looking down, it's because there's a cat down here that I'm petting, so. She likes the attention when the door's closed. All right, so we're here to talk about tonight the Yuba County 5. And Yuba County 5 it's an old case, an old mystery, partially solved, partially not. We'll probably never know the truth, honestly, of what happened. It was in 1978, February 1978. I put my notebook somewhere, so it's the actual exact dates are not here, but I know the years and mostly the months. 5 men went to a basketball game in Yuba County, and they didn't come home. The first, I guess, introducing these gentlemen would be probably pertinent. You can hear Tony yelling in the other room. Yeah, I actually did that myself this time. So I'm going to pull up a picture of these guys, and I'm still getting used to that. So let's see what we have. Yeah, no, it's not pulled up. One more second. Let me... Ooh, slides. Can we do slides? Yeah. Share screen. Yeah, it's not wanting me to... It's not wanting me to be able to do it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so here's a picture of these 5 gentlemen who disappeared in February 1978. Everybody referred to them as the boys. So when I refer to them as the boys, it's because that's what everybody called them. They were like the best friends. 4 of these gentlemen had intellectual disabilities, which were mostly mild. Like Jack Madruga could drive, so could Gary Mathias. You had Jack Hewitt, William Bill Sterling, Jackie Madruga, Ted Weir, and Gary Mathias. Now, the only one of the 5 that did not have an intellectual disability was Gary Mathias on the far right. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And as long as he was on his medication, he was completely stable. But he was kind of the newcomer to the group. He was only a member of these boys for about, I believe it was like 6 months before they disappeared. They were all a part of something called the Gateway Project in their town, which was like, for lack of a better term, like an adult. Yeah, I know it doesn't. Adult daycare. I don't like that term, but I can't think of. It was like a group for intellectually disabled people. They actually had their own basketball team called the Gateway Gators. And then they were all into it. They went all out with this basketball thing. They I keep saying Yeah. They had a big game coming up.
On the air.
Shut up. They had a big game coming up the next morning.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm saying on the air.
Didn't you just hear me comment about saying
Yeah.
Get out of here. Getting trolled by my own husband. What a dick. So they wouldn't have missed this game voluntarily. There's just no way. So they went out to this game, and it was about a 45-minute drive, if I'm remembering correctly, away. So they went to this basketball game. Their parents were expecting them home about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And Jack Madruga was driving his 1969 Mercury Montego, colored turquoise. It was his baby. Hi, Matt. He would not let anyone else touch this car. That was his car. It was his thing. He was the guy who drove him all over the place. That was his deal. So they're at this basketball game, and his parents, all their parents are waiting for them to come home, and they're waiting and waiting and waiting. And they say that these guys would not. They're such creatures of habit with their disabilities, and I can't use terms like autistic or anything like that because they weren't diagnosed like officially with these things. But I mean, they mostly had intellectual disabilities. A couple of them actually had jobs, like at restaurants. One of them, I think, was a janitor. So they're doing all right. You know, they're living life. They live with their parents. Um, 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 um. So the parents are waiting. They're waiting. Finally, they end up making missing persons reports at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And the police take it pretty seriously just because everybody knows these guys. They know that they didn't like run away or just go hang out with their friends and not come home. These were people who were creatures of habit. They wanted to be home in bed at the same time. They even had their clothes laid out for the game the next day. And they just never found him. They never found any trace of him at this point. And there was a gas station attendant that said, well, yeah, they were in about, 10:15, whatever. I was getting ready to close. They bought a bunch of junk food and milk. Ah, thank you. Junk food and milk. And this person remembered them specifically because they were trying to close. And that kind of annoyed them that these dudes came in and bought all this stuff right when they were getting ready to close. So a couple of days later, they found Jack's Mercury Montego, the 1969 Mercury Montego. They found it on a country road 30 minutes almost in the opposite direction of where they should have been driving home, up on a mountain road, abandoned on the side of the road. There was some snow, but the car didn't look like it was stuck. There was no sign that it had been, that the tires had spun. When they started the car, the keys were not in it. It wasn't out of gas. It wasn't broken down. It started right up. One of the windows was left down, and that was another red flag for Jack's mother, that he would never leave a window down on the car, especially if there was bad weather. They found the wrappers of all the stuff that they bought, and they'd eaten almost everything except for like half a candy bar. The road was pretty treacherous. There was no damage to the car, and a lot of people find that significant. Like, oh, you couldn't have driven up here if you didn't know this road. But I think that with the way Jack took such meticulous care of his car, he would have taken the utmost extreme caution not to damage this vehicle. He probably climbed up that road at 2 miles an hour to avoid damaging his car. One fellow, and I cannot remember his name because that's what happens when you lose your notebook with your important information in, lived nearby, and he went to check the roads to see if him and his family could. And this is the night that they disappeared. A couple of days later, he reported all this to the police. He went up to check the road to see if his family could get through to do a camping trip. And sorry, I'm frozen because I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He was an older gentleman. He drove up there. He remembered seeing the Mercury Montego parked on the side of the road. Well, he went up there and his car got stuck. He was trying to push his car out, and he started feeling like he was having a heart attack. So he got back in his car and he waited for a while. And he says he remembers, and this is I don't know how I'll go into my theories after this part of this. He says he saw headlights and flashlights, and when he looked out the window, he said he saw, I believe it was 4 men and a woman carrying a baby. And they were standing around a little bit of a distance from his car, and that they had a pickup with them, a red pickup. And that will also remember that red pickup, because there's another sighting, quote unquote sighting, that involves this red pickup. So he's in his car, he had a heart attack, and when he yells out to these people, this woman carrying a baby and these 4 guys who were for some reason standing around this pickup, they shut off all the lights and just ignored him, and then they disappeared. So he's laying there having this heart attack, and finally he's like, well, nobody's coming to save me, so I'm going to have to walk. So he literally gets out of his car after he's had this heart attack, and he walks like, anywhere between 6 and 8 miles, if depending on which report you read. He walks down to this gas station or something, and he's saved, and he tells everybody about this weird story. And the Mercury Montego is still there. And so with him, I don't know how credible that story is, because he was in the middle of having a heart attack, which sometimes can. I mean, he was well enough to walk all the way 8 miles down this mountain, but you can have some delusional thoughts or confusion, or maybe he saw something else, somebody else. Nobody knows, but that they've always told his portion of that story combined with this. I don't know if he really did see somebody. If he did, who would be this woman carrying a baby in the middle of the mountains on a snowy night, in the middle of the night? So I don't know about that. A couple of months later, I believe it was in March. Okay, so that's not a couple of months, that's the next month. About the next month, somebody from a gas station, also not on the way that they would have went home, said that they reported seeing the guys, 4 of them, I believe. And nobody really knows which 4. There's some talk about that it was Ted and Bill, but I guess she said one of them was using the payphone. Everybody who knows Ted and Bill knows that they're not using the phone. That was just like they had their buddies make phone calls for them. Like, they did not want to talk on the phone. That was not a thing that they would do. And apparently they were there in a red pickup. Was it really them? I don't know. I honestly don't think so. I think that was just one of those cases of mistaken identity. But because this was everybody was looking for these guys, I think it just, maybe they looked like them. I don't know. All right, so we fast forward a little ways. They never found any trace of these guys. And now the snow starts to melt. It's June of 1978. And some motorcyclists are in the woods near where these fellows went missing. And they find a ranger's trailer, like a park ranger's trailer, with the window broken out. And they're like, what's going on over here? So they go up and they notice there's a smell coming from this trailer. So they break open the door. I guess it wasn't locked, but for some reason I read that they broke the door. And inside they find the body of Ted Weir, wrapped in 8 blankets and sheets, no shoes, severe frostbite on his feet. He had a full beard, which indicates, according to forensic pathologists, that he had lived for about 3 months, 18 weeks, something like that. Yeah, not suspicious at all. He had lost 70 pounds, so he was severely emaciated. They determined that he died of a combination of malnutrition and exposure. Even though he was inside of a place, there was no fire or anything to keep him warm, and that's where it kind of it does. It's not. This is not mysterious to me because I have my own theories on why they didn't do this, but they did find a lot of cans of canned goods that had been opened with a military style can opener, and of all of the boys, there was 2 of them who had been in the military and would know how to use that. Gary Mathias was one of them. And I believe Jackie, the other Jackie, would have remembered how, or would have known how. I can't remember his last name now. It's strange because I remember all this stuff, and then right when I go live, my brain just poops out all over the place. So but so Teddy's shoes are missing. What? I can hear Tony yelling in there. All right, so there was all these cans of food open. Looks like it had been eaten. But here's the part that a lot of people find so mysterious. There was a lot of lockers in another shed right nearby. I mean, they were all grouped together in this little encampment that were full of food, enough food to, and I'm kind of quoting a little bit indirectly, trying to find a co-host. Yeah, that would be okay. The question was, why didn't they light a fire? Because there was heating, there was gas and things to make fires. There was food, enough food. The quote that I was getting ready to go into was kind of like, they said there was enough food to have lasted all 5 boys over a year in these trailers. And but none of the locks had been open. None of it had been opened. There was no fire started. So everybody wants to know, why didn't they eat this food or start a fire? Why didn't they look in these other trailers? And my theory on that is that these people had intellectual disabilities. They would not have wanted to, quote unquote, steal, or they wouldn't want to break into other people's stuff, even to save their own lives. I think maybe it just didn't even occur to them to look there. That's really my thought on that. I don't think that they would have eaten that food or broken into another. I mean, the one window was broken, that's sure. And I think they probably did break into that place. But so Teddy Weir was the only one in here, but there was a couple of articles of Gary Mathias's clothing, I believe, that was in there. And they did find a blanket and Gary's shoes a little ways off into the woods. So what they're thinking happened there was that Gary and Ted were in this trailer together. And they're thinking that when Ted died, Gary kind of packed up everything and went out to try to save himself. Or maybe even, he might have even covered up Ted while he was still alive and went to find help. And then they never found him. They found one blanket, Gary's shoes, and I don't know if that was a paradoxical undressing thing with the shoes, or did he take Ted's shoes, because Ted's shoes were missing. Maybe he took Ted's shoes and bundled up his feet and just left his own shoes abandoned. And even to this day, Gary Mathias has never been found. There are a lot of details. There's a lot of people that speculate that maybe Gary had something to do with this mysterious incident. I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So, having found Teddy's body in the trailer, they refocused a new search. Now that it's, summertime and it's all melted up, they refocused the search around this area. and they did find the bodies of the other 3 boys in the woods in the area between the car and the trailer. They're not sure if all of them had made it to the trailer and then doubled back and they passed, or if they died on the way to the trailer. And I think that might have been the case. I know at least one of them had a severe cold intolerance. So they found, and actually, oh gosh, this is terrible. I think it was Bill Sterling's dad actually was the one that found him. When they did the search, Bill's dad went and was helping search for remains. I mean, that they knew it was a recovery mission at this point. Yeah, it's super sad. His dad found his jacket, and when he picked it up, a spine fell out. And so he found his own son's skeletal remains. And that part of this story to me is what fucks me up the most. Like, I don't even care, I'll cuss. Yeah, that really fucks me up, man. Granted, he was a grown man, but you know, these guys were basically very childlike in a lot of ways, and that's his son. And to find, he knew they knew they were gonna find him deceased. But just that specific circumstance is horrifying for me. So they found Bill, one of the Jacks. Actually, both the Jacks. Sorry, Jack Madruga and Jack. God dang, I can't remember the other guy's name. So they found them, and then so Gary and Teddy looked like they were the only ones that. Jack Hewitt. His name was Hewitt. So they found those. So Teddy looks like Teddy made it to the trailer. He lived for a while, quite a while, but nobody expected. For some reason, that cabin was like 19 miles away from where the Montego was. So they're not sure. Sorry, I have to keep leaning forward to read the chat because I have it far enough back. I need to get like a tripod or something. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that wonder, why did they even go up there in the first place? What led them up there? Did they just take a wrong turn? And why did they stop? Why did they get out of the car if it wasn't stuck? Did Gary have something to do with this? Because he's still missing. I mean, he's been missing for 45 years now. It's really sad because everybody, I can't say everybody, a lot of people put the blame on Gary. Apparently, Gary had friends that lived in a town not too far away from where the car was found. People are saying maybe he wanted to go visit his friends. That wouldn't have flown with the other boys. I mean, I don't know. There was so much that people are trying to dump on Gary just because he was a schizophrenic. He was well medicated. He hadn't had any incidents. There was no indication of any kind of psychotic break with him. I don't think that Gary was responsible for this in any way. There's a lot of, what about this woman and this baby, this red pickup truck? Was that stuff even relevant? I don't think it was. I think that was just, I think those were just coincidental sightings of other people that could have been mistaken for them. Oh, hi, kitty. So I think we'll probably never find out what happened to Gary Mathias. I know there are a lot of people who read about this case who live near there who still, to this day, go into those woods looking for any traces of his remains. I'm pretty sure he's not alive anymore, even though a lot of people like to think maybe he was. Because there was an incident when Gary was younger that he actually half walked, half hitchhiked over 500 miles. And I'm not kidding you. It was from somewhere up in like Seattle or something, like way down. He went a long way, mostly on foot. and he survived by like stealing milk off people's porches and stuff. I don't know. I don't think there was any nefarious going on. So here's what I think. They went to this basketball game. On the way home, they were probably messing around in the car. There's 5 dudes in this car. They're all excited for the game tomorrow. They're all worked up from this game. They were probably, messing around, horse playing in the car. Maybe they got in the wrong lane on the highway and had to take this turn or something. For some reason, they took a wrong turn. Went up into this mountainous road. Jack, with his extreme love of his car that I can't stress enough, when they got far enough up this mountain road, there was also no room to turn around. So to get back down, he would have had to back the car down. Who knows how good he was at backing? I mean, especially if it's snowy and it's dark, it's late. There's probably a couple of the dudes are probably bitching in the back seat, like, it's, what are we doing out here, blah, blah. And I can just imagine him in my mind being like, shut up, you guys. Like, and then the car maybe gets a little bit stuck and he's like, that's it. I'm not driving anymore. I'm not going to smash up my car. We're done. We're done driving. And then one of them probably says, again, this is all my speculation. There's no evidence of this at all. One of them probably says, well, let's just go walk over there. There's got to be something. And they get out and they start walking. But the window being left down, his mom says he never would have done that. I don't know if there was maybe some sensory overload from a lot, everybody's talking maybe. It's cold, it's windy, it's maybe snowing actively. Maybe a little bit of panic starts to set in and maybe he just didn't do it. So they start walking off and, as they get farther in, a couple of the guys are like, oh, I just can't do it anymore. And they sit down and the other guys are like, okay, we'll come back and get you. And it didn't happen. It was a dirt shit road getting lost. Wonder how or why they got so far up it. I think, Genzel, that, like I said, that maybe they didn't know that there was, maybe he kept thinking there was a turnoff coming up somewhere. Again, with the reversing, there was really no room to turn around. I think he just wanted to maybe keep going and thinking that they were going to come out somewhere. Because I've done dumb shit like that myself. I'm like, oh, I'm back in these dirt roads, driving for hospice houses out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I'm like, well, this dirt road will come out somewhere. Because sometimes the GPS isn't accurate, especially in those little dirt roads. And then you turn right, and there's no dead end sign, but you get to like a farm pasture, and you're like, shit. So you got to turn around, and you're like edging, because you're driving a big car, and that Mercury Montego is pretty big. You're like edging your car back, trying not to go in the fucking ditch, because it's a giant car, trying to turn around. And then you go down another dirt road, and it loops you back around to the first one. I've done this dumb shit. I've done it in the city. Residential areas are terrible for it. You got cul-de-sacs all over. It's fucking bullshit. I hate driving. So I think that, Teddy and Gary made it to the cabin. They were like, okay, we'll chill here. We'll wait for somebody to come and find us. And nobody ever did. And they didn't break into the other trailer where the food and fuel was, just because maybe they didn't think about it. Maybe they didn't want to go back outside. Maybe there was some sort of moral thing where it's like, we can't steal. We can't break into this place. We can't. I mean, obviously they broke into the first place because the window was broken. I really think that's it. I think that they were so adverse to stealing that they didn't even think to look in someone else's stuff. Like, that's not ours. We're not going in there. We're not going to mess with it. Even to save their own lives, they didn't. I think either it didn't occur to them to even look there, or they really just didn't want to steal something. So this time goes by. I don't know how much time it was until Gary headed for the hills. And I'm truly convinced that Gary went to get help for Ted. And he just never made it back. And so that's basically the lingering questions are, what happened to Gary Mathias? I honestly think that he died somewhere in those mountains. He probably made it farther than people think he did. I think he made it a long way before he succumbed. All the places that we're looking for his remains, they might be way outside of that area, because he doesn't know these mountains. He doesn't know which way to walk. He could have went in circles. He could have went, he could have been walking parallel to a road for a long way, not realizing that it was over here. He could have made it miles and miles and miles away from this place before he passed. But I think he's out there, deceased somewhere in these woods. And the more time that goes by, the less likely even that skeletal remains will be found. Because skeletons do deteriorate too. It's pretty sad. I really wish that we'll probably never have the answer 100% as to why they went up there in the first place. All we can do is speculate. Anybody who knows the theory of Occam's razor knows that the simplest explanation is often the correct one. Not always, but usually. And that's what I think happened. Just the simplest thing. Took a wrong turn, got lost. Guy having a heart attack just maybe saw somebody else, or dreamed that, or made it up in his mind with his cardiac event, or made it up for clout. He could have made it up, and I don't want to accuse the guy of anything. Joseph Shones, I think, was his name. I don't want to accuse this guy of anything. Yeah, it is definitely bad luck. But maybe he knew this was such a big case. Maybe he made it all up. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows these things. And even if for some reason that Gary did survive, if he's been missing for 45 years and he was 32 when he went missing, he'd be in his mid to late 70s right now, or late 70s. Would he have died from natural causes by now? Probably. So that's the American Dyatlov Pass, the story of the Yuba County Five. And I love the Dyatlov Pass. That I'm not going to do an actual episode over that, because it has been done to death, and I do consider it a solved case at this point. They reopened the case of the Dyatlov Pass in 2019, and they did come up with the, I guess, solution of what happened to them was what they call a slab avalanche. Showing the heart attack guy probably would have known more, but didn't want to be accused. He might have too. I mean, he might have even told them, if maybe he saw them, maybe. And again, the speculation is just insanity, because he might have even said, hey, there's a trailer up in the woods right up there, and off they go. And then they died, and he didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I told him to go up there, and then they died. So who knows? Oh, he died in 2004. I figured he did. I mean, this is kind of an older case. I mean, 70, 79, 78 doesn't really sound that long when you say it, but you got to think of it. It's like literally 50 years ago. Well, 45 years ago. That's a long time. It's a long time. And I just can't consider him a credible witness, even if only for the heart condition alone. Ischemic heart attacks can cause some sort of delirium, confusion, hallucinations. Who knows? Maybe he saw all 5 of the boys walking, and one of them was carrying maybe he was carrying his jacket or something. I don't know. And he thought it was a woman with a baby. There's so many different ways that people can speculate on this case. And I feel like there are some more little details that I left out of this, but I can't. My brain don't work good. So does anybody have any questions over that? that I might be able to give an answer to. And they call it the American Dyatlov Pass because it was one of those situations where multiple people died under mysterious circumstances and nobody knows what happened to them. And if anybody doesn't know what the Dyatlov Pass was, that was in Russia oh gosh, it was in 58 or 59. See, there's that brain, because I know that case like the back of my hand. I want to say 58, where 9 Russian hikers, they were students from the Polytechnical Institute. You covered a lot. Very well done. Your knowledge base is extensive. Thank you, Bleak. And yeah, at the very beginning, I actually had a notebook with the specific dates and names all written down. And then I couldn't find it. And I forget a lot when we're on here because I have a little bit of stage fright. So, but yeah, the Dyatlov Pass was a fascinating case of these 9 students who were experienced hikers. They went in the mountains and they died under mysterious circumstances. And that has pretty much been, over the years, people have, and the Russian government put the hush on it, which they decided it was a slab avalanche, and all the evidence fits with that. All the mysterious circumstances surrounding them, like why was there radiation on their clothes? Well, one guy worked in a factory where they worked with radiation. Why were their tongues and eyeballs torn out? They found those bodies in moving water, and the first parts of your face that are going to disappear or decompose or get eaten by animals is your tongue and your eyes, the softest tissues. So why did they cut their way out of the tent? They heard it coming. A slab avalanche is not slow moving. Hi. Say hi. That's Baby, the office cat. So that's why everybody, considers those. There is a Russian case coming up that I would like to talk about. It's quite a bit lesser known than the Dyatlov Pass. Not the next episode, but one in the future. It's called the Habar Daban incident. And it's another group of Russian hikers in the Ural Mountains who got killed under mysterious circumstances. Well, they didn't get killed, they died. And there was a survivor, a witness, who had some very, very disturbing. Whatever happened to these people was absolutely devastating and extremely disturbing. Very graphic, very traumatic. So that's sometimes also called the Korovina incident. Did you read Into the Caped Intruder? I did. And I don't remember the details enough, but it's and I don't have a picture of it pulled up. I can put a little snippet on the next episode and talk about it. We can talk about it here if you want. The Cape Intruder was this guy who, in Maine, would break into people's houses wearing a cape and watch them sleep. And that's it. That is it. Creepy, creepy dude. Like, what was his motive? He didn't hurt anyone. He didn't steal anything. All he did was break into people's houses and watch them sleep. Like, a lot of times. And so people would just randomly wake up in the middle of the night and there's this dude standing in their bedroom just staring at them. And then when he realized they were awake, he'd like run off. And there's a police composite sketch of the guy that's out there. Those composite sketches are so creepy. Once I get better at the screen sharing and learn how to like picture in picture, I can pop them up so that we can look at them together. I might do an episode on police sketches and why they invoke that kind of uncanny valley effect on people. Because those police sketches don't look anything like a real person. Many are unaware I guarantee you that guy broke, like somebody who's a really heavy sleeper like my husband, somebody could come in and he wouldn't even notice it and stare at him for hours and then just leave again. See, me, I'm a light sleeper. I'd fucking smell somebody if they came in. Seriously. Which is weird because smells wake me up. Everything wakes me up. So I think I would wake up, but there's a lot of people that wouldn't. I mean, I know people you have to shake them awake, so it'd be easy for somebody to just come in a back door real quietly, walk into their bedroom, just stand there and watch them. How long was he watching these people for? That's the stuff that it's so freaky. How long was he watching them for? Was it hours? Just a couple minutes? Did he just pop their head in and they woke up? I mean, it's the most disturbing thing to me is the question of what was his motive? What was his rationale for wanting to watch people? Was he just fucking trolling these people? Was he just like, watch, I'm gonna make this is gonna be a big joke and I'm just gonna go fucking watch people while they sleep? Or was he planning on doing harm to somebody and he just never got around to it? And then eventually he just stopped. Like they never caught him. He just stopped. Or he moved somewhere else and just didn't get caught. Or he probably went to jail for something else. That's kind of serial killer logic though. A lot of serial killers will never stop unless they are dead or incarcerated. Sleep paralysis sounds disturbing. Intruder may have been the paralysis demon. I didn't look that deeply into this case. I don't really think so because it was a very local, kind of a localized area within a specific set of time. And some of the people got up and chased the guy. So if you're having sleep paralysis, you're not going to be able to like jump up and be like, "What are you doing to my house?" and chase him down, you know? You could jump up and try to chase him, but by the time your body reacts to what you're doing, the sleep paralysis things are gone. That is an interesting take on it, though. I don't personally have sleep paralysis. I may have had one instance of it, or I may have been dreaming. I had a nightmare a long time ago. I was laying in my bed, and I thought I was awake because everything looked normal. And then this woman, it was from a stupid thing from a movie, and this movie wasn't even that disturbing to me, but this woman from a movie came running in my bedroom door, and like ran towards me with this like piano wire in her hand and then disappeared. And I thought I was awake, but I wasn't, but I couldn't move. That could have been, I'm 50-50 on that. Maybe sleep paralysis, maybe just fucked up, crappy nightmare. But sleep paralysis is something that I actually have a pretty big fear of, just for the fact that a lot of people, when they experience that, it's very, very traumatic and disturbing to them. Plus, it's usually they see scary stuff, and I'm not down for that. Like, I see enough shit already as it is. I don't want to do it while I'm sleeping, too. They say 1 out of 5 of the population, or 1/5 of the population, will experience it at least once. So most won't experience it. Like I said, I'm not sure if that really was sleep paralysis or if it was just a nightmare that took place in my bedroom. But damn, I thought I was awake. It looks like it's getting ready to storm here. Sleep paralysis and shadow men, the hat men. I'm pretty sure I'll end up doing an episode on that. A fetish for watch people sleep. Maybe that was his motive. That could be too. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have seen the videos on YouTube of the guy that would like touch people's eyeballs while they were sleeping and stuff. I don't remember the name of the channel, and it might be taken down, or it might be even fake, like an art project or an ARG or something. But he would go in people's houses and watch them sleep and like touch their eye, like he'd pull open their eyes and touch them while they're sleeping and shit. Ugh. A fetish for watching people sleep. You know, honestly, I think that's probably the most likely. Easy fetish to say. Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, anytime you're violating a person's privacy, like going into their home, our homes are like our safe place where we go to be alone. Maybe not necessarily alone, but we go, this is like supposed to be a safe place for us. Anytime somebody violates that sanctity, it's very, very disturbing, and it can be so traumatic. I mean, somebody stole my car, and even when I opened the door to the car, I'm like, ooh, somebody was in here, and now it's fucking dirty and tainted. Your partner just needs to sleep. Yeah, but I think it's more the thrill of seeing strangers sleep. If you could see, it's kind of like you could see your fucking husband sleeping all day, every day. I think what's exciting to these weirdos is the thought of watching strangers sleep without their knowledge. For some reason, that's exciting to this guy. For some reason, that's like his thing. That's what gets him off. Yeah, I don't know. People are weird. People are so weird. Like, most people just have regular, not even necessarily a fetish. You can't really, most people don't fetishize things. Like, it's not like a paraphilia. You know, like some people might be a little bit into something. Most people have like preferences. But a true fetish is a little, it's not rare, but it's not as common as people think it is. And some of it's, yeah, like necrophilia, that's a gross one. Bestiality. As the old saying goes, truth is often weirder than fiction. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of the time you can't make this stuff up. I mean, we watched some weird stuff last night. Not weird as in disturbing or crime, but dance off, pants off. All right, folks, I think that'll about wrap it up. I don't want to make these streams too long until I get more comfortable and get all my ducks in a row. Like, I keep moving around and I have to lean forward to read the chat. I think I have a tripod. I'm going to try hooking that up next time too. We'll get all these things ironed out. Like I said, I've never streamed before. I've never really recorded myself before. It's not something that I'm used to. I have like not really a fear of public speaking, but I do have a little bit of, I don't know if you'd call it performance anxiety or stage fright. But it's something I've always wanted to try, so here we are trying it, and I'd like to set up, this was all kind of like just thrown together. I just decided I was going to do it. Just go for it. So, here we are, and thanks for coming, everybody, and watching and making this a fun time. Thanks for listening to that case. I hope to be more organized in the future. I need to get my shit together. You know what I'm saying? So, thanks for coming to another night shift with Nurse Joy. And missed the start of this. Yeah, and I have to turn my I missed the start of this, but we'll watch it. You don't have to do that. It'd be good if you did. And what is it they always say on YouTube? Like and subscribe. You fucking can if you want to. All right, I'll talk to everybody later. Everybody have a good night.